Imagine a world that existed before a great flood, a realm filled with legends and mysteries, depicted in sacred texts as the backdrop for extraordinary creatures, lost civilizations, and supernatural events that forever changed our planet. This pre-flood era captivates us with its detail-rich and mysterious stories immortalized in the book of Genesis in the Bible. Today, I'm going to share with you everything about what this world was like before the Great Deluge, from the dawn of humanity to its near-complete disappearance. So I kindly ask for your support by liking and subscribing to the channel. As many of you know, Genesis tells us the story of Adam and Eve, the first humans created by God. They disobeyed a divine command and were expelled from paradise, the Garden of Eden. From their union came two sons mentioned in the Bible, Cain and Abel. The story of Cain murdering Abel is one of the most striking in the Bible. Both offered sacrifices to God, but only Abel's was accepted, leaving Cain consumed by jealousy and anger. Taking Abel to the field, Cain committed fratricide. As punishment, God condemned Cain to wander the earth as an eternal fugitive. Fleeing to the land of Nod, Cain and his wife had a son, Enoch, and in his honor, Cain built a city and named it after his son. The biblical narratives show us that humans of that era were already quite advanced in terms of intelligence, highlighting impressive deeds by figures like Cain and later Noah. These stories suggest that even before the Great Flood, people had the ability to carry out significant projects. For example, Cain was not only responsible for building a city, which implies a degree of social organization and engineering knowledge sufficient to construct urban structures, albeit basic ones. On the other hand, the Bible does not delve into details about the exact level of intellectual or technological development of that society. Noah is another remarkable example, as he built a gigantic ark by divine instruction to save himself from the flood. Constructing a vessel that could hold him, his family, and pairs of every species of animal demonstrates considerable technical knowledge. While these stories indicate that advanced skills and knowledge were present, it's important to note that the focus of the biblical narrative is more on spiritual and moral teachings, such as the importance of faith and obedience to God, rather than a detailed historical record of the intellectual or technological capacities of the time. There's a lot of curiosity about how long the era before the Great Flood lasted. According to the Old Testament, this period extends from the creation of Adam to the days of Noah, at which point the flood occurred, sent as divine punishment for human wickedness. The calculation of this time frame is based on the genealogies presented in the book of Genesis. These lists name the descendants of Adam up to Noah, along with their ages. The Bible mentions that Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters covered the earth. Based on these genealogies, the total comes to approximately 1,656 years for the period preceding the flood. However, it's good to remember that this number might vary slightly. This is because different translations and interpretations of the Bible may present small differences in the genealogies. This issue of chronology and how to interpret biblical genealogies is a topic that generates much discussion among Bible scholars and historians. The book of Genesis in the Bible tells a fascinating story about a time when all of humanity spoke the same language. This is mentioned in Genesis chapter 11, which describes the construction of the Tower of Babel. The narrative recounts that the people gathered on the plain of Shinar with an ambitious project to build a tower that reached the heavens. However, God saw this initiative as an act of pride and a challenge to his authority. As punishment, God decided to confuse the builders' languages, making them speak different tongues. This led to the project's failure as the people, now unable to understand each other, dispersed across the world. Additionally, a notable characteristic of ancient times, according to Genesis, was the longevity of people. The genealogies in the book record extremely high ages for various figures, such as Adam, Seth, Methuselah, and Noah. Methuselah, in particular, is remembered as the longest-lived person, with his 969 years. The Bible does not clearly explain why these people lived so long, leaving room for various interpretations and theories about these impressive ages and their meanings. The biblical story about the time before the flood presents us with a picture of moral degradation and an increase in sin. Although the sacred texts do not fully detail the specifics of this society, there are mentions of behaviors far removed from the prevailing moral and ethical principles, including acts of violence, theft, polygamy, and incest. An intriguing aspect of this era, discussed in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 to 4, is the mention of the Nephilim. These beings are described as the result of the union between the sons of God and the daughters of men, leading to the birth of individuals of great stature and strength, often interpreted as giants or superior beings. This biblical passage leads to various interpretations regarding who these sons of God might be. Some understand them as angels or spiritual entities that left their heavenly abode to unite with human women, while others interpret the sons of God as descendants of Seth, representing the lineage faithful to God who intermingled with the rebellious lineage of Cain. Despite the overall picture of corruption, the Bible highlights the existence of virtuous people at that time who maintained a close communion with the Creator, serving as notable exceptions amidst the predominance of evil. Enoch and Noah stand out as exemplary figures of virtue and faith in the pre-flood biblical narrative. Enoch is particularly notable in the book of Genesis for his closeness to God, a distinct feature that, unlike others of his time, he did not die. Instead, he was taken directly by God, a gesture symbolizing exceptional divine favor and his righteous conduct. This direct transition of Enoch to divine fellowship is often interpreted as a testament to his unwavering faith. Noah, on the other hand, is remembered for his righteousness and exemplary obedience. God chose him to build the ark that would save a sample of creation from the impending cataclysm. Described as a just man, blameless and in constant communion with God, Noah exemplifies loyalty and dedication in following the divine commands to build the ark, even under scorn and disbelief. His story highlights not only obedience to God, but also deep trust in divine providence, serving as a beacon of faith and integrity in a world consumed by corruption. The conclusion of the pre-flood era comes with the Great Flood, a decisive episode described in the book of Genesis. Observing the widespread wickedness and corruption among men, God decided to purify the earth by sending a flood of catastrophic proportions. For 40 days and nights, the relentless rain raised the water levels until they covered all the high mountains, eliminating all forms of terrestrial life, except for those aboard the ark built by Noah. After this period, the waters began to recede, and the ark finally rested on Mount Ararat. Upon leaving the ark, Noah and his family were greeted by a new covenant from God, who promised never to devastate the earth with a flood again. The rainbow appeared in the sky as an eternal sign of this promise. Thus, the end of the pre-flood story is marked by a divine purification through the flood, followed by a renewal of life on earth. Noah, his family, and the animals that survived in the ark formed the starting point for the rebuilding of humanity. This narrative leaves us with a lesson of renewal and hope, symbolized by God's covenant with humanity. If you found value in this exploration, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content like this. May divine protection be with you.